Hello, host Eric here talking with Faith People, and the topic of this one is an objective look at UFO arguments. So, I specifically am talking about UFO arguments here because there's a big difference between the sort of arguments people make in favor of believing in aliens or unidentified flying objects or that kind of stuff than, say, with ghosts. With ghosts, you run into a serious definitional problem that I call the ontological challenges of the paranormal. But I don't want to get too much into that challenging area right there. I want to say how, in fact, UFOs provide us a lot more avenues to think about them because they are, in fact, first and foremost, making claims about physical objects in space. So that's nice. That means they're falsifiable. It means they're defined in some way. So when people are making the claims, as sometimes people do, that aliens have already visited the Earth, that there's been spaceships here, that the government's covering it up, stuff like that, I think it's important to note as a starting point that those are not ridiculous arguments to make. I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm just saying they're not ridiculous arguments to make. In fact,
they are.
Well, here's why they're not ridiculous arguments to make. I'm not saying that they're not ridiculous arguments in and of themselves at the end of the day. I'm just saying they're not ridiculous arguments to make. Number one, mathematically it would make perfectly good sense that we would be visited by some sort of alien, given the size of the universe and given the number of planets in the galaxy alone, and given the fact that a decent number are even habitable or in the so-called Goldilocks zone, and within sub-light speed travel of Earth in a couple hundred years, 100-year, 200-year travel time, right? So there'd be plenty of reason to think that if our phenomenological experience of being conscious beings on a planet is not unique, then it should be common. And if common, the notion that we'd be the most advanced of all the common species, of all the common aliens, is unlikely. So there'd be good reason to think that if it were possible for aliens to travel to between planets, namely if aliens in fact can be found who have sentience in the way that we understand it and technological development sufficient to travel into space. So in other words, if aliens exist, then we should have already met them by all reasonable understanding of the way the mechanisms of the universe work, unless the alternative being we're unique.
If they exist?
Well, look, there's two possibilities probably. Either we're unique, we're the only planet that's got intelligent life on it, or we're common. There's shitloads of other planets out there like this one. If we're common, then it's 0% chance that we're the most technologically advanced. And so there's got to be other civilizations that would be way, way further advanced than us if we're common. And if that were the case, then we should have already met these aliens because space travel is something we've already attained some manageability in. And if we can do it in our primitive state of development, given that planets with lots of life on it are abundantly, hugely common, then we should have already met the aliens. Or they're intentionally hiding themselves from us, right? That maybe they're here, but they're trying to make their spaceships hidey, but not very successfully, right? Like, we're aliens. We're here to watch you guys. Of course, we've got our quotas. We gotta bring you guys up to the spaceship periodically and shove stuff up your ass. It's part of the rules for intergalactic society. That anytime you go in and you're investigating, doing anthropology on a lesser species like you humans, you get sodomized. It's part of the deal. So we bring you guys up here. We fuck your ass. We've been doing it for hundreds of years now, and we haven't learned a goddamn thing. I don't know why we persist in doing these activities, but we do. You'd think if we were so super advanced, we wouldn't need to shove shit up your ass to find out about you. It turns out we do. That's where all the info is. So Yeah, I mean, those sort of things don't make any sense to me. Like, why would the aliens abduct people and do tests on them in their spaceship and then return them? It seems like such an insanely complicated way to get basic data on a biological creature. It doesn't make any sense. So, okay, my take on it then is we should have already seen aliens, but we haven't, which suggests we're probably unique or extremely rare, such that close to unique, which would mean that there probably aren't any aliens out there, not advanced form aliens anyway. And if that were the case, then obviously the UFO stories were all bullshit. The other line of argumentation that UFO enthusiasts use is we've got all these eyewitnesses who are making claims about having data in their field of vision and seeing and experiencing things that are fairly concrete in their descriptions. Some of them even have some pieces of evidence, like a picture they took of it or something. Some people even have blah, blah, blah. So, okay. The problem, well, not necessarily we should have met them. You're right, but okay. Then they've already met us. They should have already met us, and either chosen not to contact us directly, or yeah. I mean that's the thing. I could see why an advanced civilization wouldn't want to interfere. They wouldn't want to interfere with the historical arc of another civilization. I could imagine the aliens observing us from a distance, watching, and not doing anything. What I don't get though is why they wouldn't be all the way one or the other. Either hiding really well, successfully, so nobody sees any signs of them, or not hiding at all. Why would they hide so badly that there's tons of eyewitness accounts of UFOs, but hide just well enough so that one never accidentally appears over a city where the evidence is indisputable? So that's the problem I have with the eyewitness account line of argumentation. Not that I oppose eyewitness accounts in principle, but you think UFOs are all speculation and nothing to do with what? Nothing to do with aliens? Well, I don't know. There have been plenty of examples of documented cases where, like, military personnel, military vehicles, or civilians, or whatever, have said, well, what was that thing right there that was really, like, looked like a spaceship? And then there's this weird phenomenon where everybody, like the reporters or regular people or whatever, they like turn to the authorities for an explanation. Either they don't know either, or if they do know and they had something to do with it, like, oh, well, we were just shooting up a test missile or something. Well, they should tell us that, right? But if it wasn't them, why should they know? They would have no reason to know any better than anybody else. And yet, that doesn't stop them from answering. Oh, it was whatever it was, says some official from the military or from wherever. Well, how the fuck do you know? You just said it wasn't us. It was probably this. Where did you get that from? Aren't they locals too? Why don't they lie to themselves, calm themselves down? They're the ones who are so upset they think people need to be lied to. But, I mean, look, I'm not saying that the government's covering up UFO shit. I'm not saying they are covering up anything. I'm saying I wouldn't put it past them. Like, if some UFO information were sufficiently well contained by the mechanisms of classification to limit its seeability to a small enough bureau, then I absolutely could imagine the bureau doing nothing but thinking it's their job to decide for others what they ought to know. it's really important in my mind to get rid of the term like conspiracy theory, which just exists to say, well, that's not a legitimate thing to think or talk about. Well, you can't talk about UFOs existing, Eric. That's not legitimate enough. Well, I'm not saying they exist. I'm saying they have more legitimacy than trying to shut down argumentation for any reason. If I say there was a conspiracy, 9/11 was an inside job, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, you're one of those kind of crazy kooks." Well, I don't have any. I don't know what happened on 9/11 at all. I don't ascribe to the inside job. I don't ascribe to the whatever reasons that people come up with. What I do ascribe to is the reality that it's just as likely to have been anything as to have been exactly what they told us. You know, so there's no reason to well, the government officials who were questioned by media personnel. So when somebody has a press conference and the media shows them, they ask them a bunch of questions, and they are answering those questions. The answers to those questions are they're pieces of a story that's been split up amongst a bunch of different people, so that nobody really knows the whole story. There's not some mastermind who he knows the whole story. Ha 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 ha. It doesn't work like that. It's like somebody in some office decides, let's do X, and then that gets teed out into little things that people do and say. Well, I'm the press guy, so I say these answers. Well, what are the answers? I don't know. I'm not involved in any of the details of the shit. Here, somebody give me my bullet point paper. I'm the press guy. I need to know what the facts are that I'm reporting on. Somebody hands them a piece of paper. Oh, this is what it says here. They don't even question it. The press guy doesn't think about it. He doesn't fucking care. He's just reading shit off paper and trying to sound serious. And so he can maybe if he's living in New York at 9/11, he actually is very serious and he's worried about his family or something. Regardless, he's not vetting that paper he's sharing with us. Why are we asking him questions? Does he actually know things, or is he just looking at the bullet pointed paper that somebody else gives him? Why do we need a press conference? Why don't we actually talk directly with the people who are making decisions about their wrongness? That would be a lot better. So, I don't know what happened 9/11. Neither does anybody else. I seriously doubt that there are no additional pieces that would be dramatically interesting to someone were they to know the truth that we don't know yet. At least additional pieces of this puzzle. I would make that claim. I could be proven wrong, but that's the thing. I don't think any sane person in America thinks that they've gotten the actual true dossier of information on everything at all. Nobody does. Some people think, that's good, we don't need to know. I don't need to know that. You guys keep taking care of me, and you know better than I do about me, so you own me some more. A lot of people are like that. They look to the authorities. But then a lot of people are also just like, well, nothing we can do about it. You know, yeah, we should be able to know that stuff. It is our government, but nothing we can do about it. And I understand that a lot. If you're taking actions because you expect them to have concrete outcomes, you've got a long hill to climb. I feel empowered to take action because the action I'm taking is metaphysical. I'm trying to affect the way that people engage in disputing policy stuff. So UFOs are real, and they're full of aliens. If you want to meet an alien, you should find a UFO. Open it up, look inside. Those gray things are aliens. Don't turn your back on them. They'll bend you over and shove something up your ass.